Welcome to Heist the podcast where you will learn about the greatest heists in human history.
Okay, so imagine this. You walk onto a super high-security airport tarmac in the middle of the day and just drive off with a fortune in diamonds. Sounds like a movie, right? Well, today we're digging into one of the most unbelievable heists in modern history. It's a story packed with insider knowledge, raw nerve, and millions in jewels that, poof, just disappeared. This is the story of the Schiphol heist.
All right, let's set the scene. We're at Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport. It's a chilly, gray morning, February 25th, 2005. Now you gotta understand, the tarmac here is supposed to be one of the most secure places in the entire country. It's a fortress of concrete, cameras, and armed guards. But on this morning, that fortress was about to get a huge hole blown right through it.
And this is what they were all there for. $72 million. We're not talking about bulky, traceable cash. We're talking about raw, uncut diamonds. An absolutely massive prize just sitting there, waiting to be loaded onto a plane headed for Antwerp, the diamond capital of the world. Which brings us to the big question, the one that makes this whole story so fascinating. How on earth did a group of guys just waltz into a secure airport, snatch a fortune, and drive off? All in broad daylight, right under everybody's nose. Let's break down exactly how they pulled it off. So, first up, the Fortress of Glass. To really get how this happened, you need to understand the place itself. Schiphol Airport was designed to feel untouchable, completely impregnable. But, as these guys were about to prove, even the strongest fortress can have a paper-thin weakness.
I mean, on paper, Schiphol's security was a beast. Cameras everywhere, armed military police patrolling, high-security fences, the whole 9 yards. But the robbers' advantages were just brilliantly simple. They had legit KLM airline uniforms, a stolen KLM truck, and, this is the most important part, insider knowledge. They didn't have to crash through security, they just had to look like they were part of it. Which leads us to our next part, the insider's blueprint. That insider knowledge, well, that was the secret sauce for this entire operation. This wasn't some random smash and grab. No, this was a precision strike, planned down to the minute, all thanks to a blueprint they got from someone on the inside.
So, let's look at the crew. The heart of the plan was their inside man, a KLM employee named Ramazan N. He gave them everything, schedules, security procedures, where the gaps were. The guy running the show was Errol HV, a seasoned criminal who knew exactly how to pull something like this off. But get this, there was some real drama behind the scenes. They actually tried this 2 weeks earlier and failed because one of their guys got cold feet. So they had to swap him out for a new recruit, Marlon D., a guy who was clearly more ready for the main event.
All right, part 3, the heist. Bingo! With the new guy on board and the plan fine-tuned, they were ready to go. So let's walk through what actually happened on that Friday morning.
Their whole strategy was basically shock and awe. They drove their stolen KLM truck right up to the armored car, out on the tarmac. Step 1, ambush. Step 2, they jump out, armed with automatic weapons, and force the real drivers to the ground. No talking, no hesitation, just pure intimidation. Step 3, they grab the armored car itself, and Step 4, they just drive it away, right across the active airfield. The whole thing was over in a matter of minutes. It's just incredible.
And to give you a little insight into their mindset at that moment, as soon as they were clear, Marlon D., the new guy, rips open a bag, sees a giant diamond, and just shouts to his partner, "We're having bingo! We have bingo!" It's a line that's become absolutely legendary in the Netherlands, you know? It just perfectly captures that moment of pure, wild success.
But the getaway wasn't actually perfect. In the rush to transfer all the loot to their escape car, they got sloppy. They were dropping boxes, leaving bags behind. Literally millions of dollars in jewels were just left scattered on the ground. Still, even with that major fumble, they made off with a staggering $43 million in diamonds. And because they were uncut, they were pretty much untraceable.
Okay, so now we get to part 4, the 8-year silence. After a crime this brazen, this public, you would expect a huge manhunt and some quick arrests. But what actually happened was the complete opposite. A deep, frustrating silence. The trail went ice cold.
And you can see here just how tough this was for law enforcement. The heist goes down in 2005, and then for 8 long years, nothing. The diamonds are gone, the suspects just melt back into their normal lives, and the whole thing becomes this great, unsolved mystery. But then,
In 2013, the police decided to try something totally different, a new secret strategy called Operation Eaton.
So let's talk about that in part 5, the undercover trap. I mean, how do you catch criminals who've been ghosts for nearly a decade? Well, you stop hunting them. Instead, you build an elaborate trap and you make them walk right into it. To do this, the Dutch police used a special tactic called a audacity, which basically means working undercover. This wasn't some quick 2-week sting operation. No, this was the long game. Undercover agents would spend years getting close to the suspects, building what felt like real friendships, just to earn their complete and total trust.
And you know what? It worked like a charm. These agents became their buddies. They'd go out for drinks, they'd hang out, and slowly but surely, the suspects started to let their guard down. Feeling safe with their new friends, the mastermind Errol HV and the bingo guy Marlon D started to brag. They started telling stories about the heist, details only the people who were there could possibly know. And the whole time, hidden microphones were recording every single word. Their own pride, their own egos, are what brought them down.
Part 6, the Ibiza postscript. So, with those confessions on tape, the police finally sprung the trap in 2017. But the story has one last, absolutely wild twist that takes us all the way to a party island in Spain.
So the key players were finally facing the music. The mastermind, Errol HV, and the robber, Marlon D, they both got 9.5 years. The insider, Ramazan An, also got a heavy sentence. And since the co-leader, August B, had passed away, it really looked like the case was finally closed for good.
But it wasn't. While he was out of jail waiting for his appeal, the mastermind, Errol HV, just vanished. He fled to Ibiza, of all places, where he lived for years, supposedly working as a masseur. And in a move of pure audacity, he even took part in a documentary about his own crime. But his luck finally ran out this year on February 6, 2024. Spanish police literally forced his car off the road and arrested him at gunpoint to finally serve the rest of his sentence.
So the masterminds are caught. Justice, after a very, very long time, was served. But let's not forget about what started this whole thing. $43 million in diamonds.
Because despite all the arrests, the convictions, the confessions, the undercover operations, not one of those stolen diamonds has ever been found. They just vanished into thin air.
And that's really the question that still hangs over this whole crazy story nearly 20 years later. The men are in jail, but the treasure is gone. They were probably cut and sold and resold ages ago, maybe now sitting on the jewelry of people who have absolutely no idea about their violent criminal past. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In the end, who really got away with it?